Okay, everybody, I want to do a quick tutorial on how to utilize our home screen at the Summit Dispatch, or actually at the bottom as well, in base first aid, to dispatch a call on the mountain. This will be for like a medical or an injury, and utilizing OneRisk to start the call and start the record. So we have better record keeping, and it integrates with our incident reporting. So on the screen, you can see our homepage for dispatch. This does get updated kind of seasonally depending on what we're doing, biking or skiing, but essentially some of the highlights, it's called the dispatch dashboard. Over here we have the current weather, the time. I'll go over the other components at another time, but we do have links for who's here today. That links to our timekeeper system, our trail checks, and weather and duty rosters and other things. But right now I want to just talk about how to dispatch a call. So let's say you are working at the top, you're on top time or dispatch duty or whatever you want to call it, and you receive a phone call for somebody injured on a bike down on Gronk. And so what we're going to do in that circumstance is, first of all, gather all the information, the exact location if we can, the nature of injury if possible, whether the person is conscious, some basic information that we would need. And if we're getting this information from 911 or Shelburne Control, they do have the ability to give us the location both in Latin long and in what 3 words. And I'll save what 3 words for another training as well. So you've taken a call and you put out over the radio, this is Summit Dispatch. Are there any patrollers that can get to the middle of Gronk on the report of a male with a leg injury? And let's say that there's nobody available that's already down there, and so you send somebody out of the top. So we'll say we're sending John Leckie out of the top. So over here on your home screen or your dispatch dashboard, you're going to click Dispatch a Call. So when you click that, you're going to get into OneRisk, into a special function called our dispatch command. And you'll see that we have no active dispatches going on right now. In the upper right corner, you'll click New Dispatch. It's going to pop up a dialog screen that is indicating that you have a new dispatch. You'll notice right away that it tags the current date and time. So that's a nice start for the call. And you'll select the premise. Under premises, you'll see lifts, trails, which include winter trails when we're active. The bike park, all the trails in the bike park are under park, and other are basically other premises that are not trails or bike park features, like buildings, first aid, lodges, those sort of things. So for now, we're going to be dispatching to Gronk. So we'll pick park. You can actually start typing in at the top Gronk. You'll notice that comes up. You just select Gronk, and now we've said the injuries on Gronk. You can add a note in here, just something really short. Male, mid-Gronk, leg injury, just something that's a good note in there about where they are, mid-Gronk. And then scenario, very quickly, this is an injured person. It's good to try to put something in there. When you put injured person, it also opens up a sub-screen of time tracking. This is very important as we begin to try to improve our documentation of times and when we get dispatched to calls and when we get on scene. So first thing is I can say that there was a patroller dispatched, and that would be Mr. John Leckie heading down there. And let's say as John is working his way down there, we're getting some other people involved with potentially having to help John extricate the patient. So let's fast forward. When John gets on scene on Gronk, he's going to say, Summit Patrol, this is John, and I'm on scene. So we will mark him on scene, and you'll notice it's tracking all these times. And then a couple of minutes later, John says, yeah, I've got somebody who's injured for sure, and I'm going to need the couple patrollers. I'm going to need the buggy and the Stokes basket and black bag. to extricate for a leg injury. And so we mark that John has requested more resources, and we mark that as well. And I'm going to move across the tabs now. So that was the details of the incident. Now under resources, we can actually tag resources that were put into the incident. While this is not totally critical, it is really nice to record. So we'll say that John needed the UTV, the buggy, he needed a black bag, and really no other materials from there. Under people, we're going to go ahead and add John to the incident. John was joined by Al Mason, who was assisting. And we'll also say that Tim Parker, who's one of our summer patrollers, was assisting as well. So we've got these 3 patrollers assigned to this incident. Excuse me. The events tab is really just a summary of the major events that have occurred within the incident. It's like a log, if you will. Under incident, and this is pretty key because this is the part of the dispatching module that ultimately will kick this call over to the incident reporting side. And I'll show you how that looks here in a minute. But essentially, when we finish the call and John Leckie's at the base area or wherever, and it's time for him to write his one risk report, the report will actually already have been started for him by us. So it's got the times, the location, the people involved, the patrollers, that sort of thing. And it makes starting the report a little easier, and it has better time data associated with it. So under location notes, again, you could make a note in here. This will transfer over to John's report. So we can just say midway after roundabout. Whatever the location note is that we want to add in here. It's just a little bit more detailed note about where the location is for the incident. We also can make a note in here about the injury because John got back to us and said it was a left lower leg, and he suspects it's a fracture. It's a male patient. And for some reason in my system, it puts my name in here, but let's just add the age in properly, which is it's a 45-year-old male with a leg injury. If I go over to log, you're going to see all of the various entries and notes that I put into the case so far. And at this point, I want to hit save because I want to lock this in as a incident. Now, you'll notice here the active dispatches. We have this one active incident going on Gronk. If we were to take another call right now, for instance, we had back-to-back calls, and this one was done on cat and mouse. And I'm not going to go through another incident here, but let's just say we had another incident going on cat and mouse, and I'll save that. You'll see that we now have 2 active incidents going on the mountain. And so it can track an unlimited amount of incidents. And this is really nice when you're at the top, you know what's going on. You'll also notice over here there's a time tracker. So for instance, on this incident with John Leckie and Al and Tim Parker over on Gronk, this incident has been active for 6 minutes. So it's a nice timer system. So let's go back to our incident with John on Gronk. They've extricated the patient, and they've extricated the patient back to the trailer in the buggy, and they're going to transport the patient down the hill. So John gets back to us and says, we are starting to transport the person. So we'll just mark transporting, and they are headed down the mountain. So at this point, what we could really do is kick this call over to the incident system so that it's ready for John to pick up. So we'll click the incident tab. Again, I'm not sure why it keeps adding my name instead of a number. So again, the incident tab, it's just got a couple things in here: location, injury zone, male who's 45. And then we're going to hit this create now button. When I hit this create now button, you'll notice that it creates a number that probably is kind of familiar to you, which is a number that will become the incident number on OneRisk for writing the report. And if you didn't notice this, the way that this is set up is actually just very simply the year 23, the month 6, the date 28th because today's June 28th, and then the incident number of the day, which is the first incident of the day. So that's that numbering system. And then I can hit save. And let's say we're still managing this other incident, cat and mouse, and all those details, which I'm not going to do right now. So once they get down to first aid, it's nice if you let us know that you're at first aid, and we can close the dispatch because it's off the hill. So again, I'm just going to open up this incident over here and hit close dispatch, and that will come off the screen as it's not an active call on the mountain anymore. So now I'm going to just move over to and show you what it would look like on John's end. So this is the dispatch screen. Not everybody will see this in your login, but the Summit dispatch and some other key people have this access. So I'm just going to move over really quickly to the incident reporting system. And the red bar is probably familiar to most of you. This is my login, so it's got some additional stuff on it. But John's down at the, John Lecky's down at first aid now, and he's got the patient inside. Maybe they're calling 911 or something to get the patient transported, whatever. But it's time to write the report. So John's going to log in as himself, not as the patrol generic. He'll log in as John Lecky. He'll click incident tracking, which, of course, most of you are familiar with. And you will notice here that at the very top of the list, there's an incident number already created under a dispatch number, which is key. That means it was created under dispatch, and it was created by me, but typically you're going to see it's created by patrol dispatch. And here we are on Gronk, and everything that we put in on the dispatch side is here. So it doesn't have everything. John still needs to write his full report, but just some of the basics here show you that the time was actually started properly. And so we have that. We're the premise. So not only do we know that this was on Gronk, but also the note I put in about after roundabout or whatever was here as well. So that's important. It does have some information about things like the where we think the injury is, the lower leg fracture. And let's say I put that in as a lower leg fracture, but actually John got down there and he's like, oh no, this is actually just a bruise. This isn't a fracture. So he can actually switch that and shut off fracture and put the bruise on there. So you don't have to accept what the dispatch put in. It's just a place to start. You can change it. So obviously John would complete his whole report. You'll also notice that under responders, it automatically already has John and Al and Tim, all the patrollers involved with the incident are placed under responders, which is very important. We need all of the people involved with an incident to be in here, not just the report writer. So John would complete his report as you normally do, and go ahead and hit submit for review. When you're done, actually, a couple key things here too. This plus this check mark on the upper right corner. If you hit that, it's going to tell you all of the required fields that are missing, and you need to repair those before you can get them submitted. And it will not allow you to submit them without those put in there. So when the report is done, it will go back to submit to review, and then those of us that review reports will review it as well. So that's how it looks on the end for the report writer, who should be the very first patroller on scene. It's a very important, ultimately, that who's ever first on scene of an incident or accident or injury is the person who is ultimately responsible to sign and complete the report. I know that sometimes we have folks in the first aid room work on reports. That's fine, but the final closing and the signature needs to be the first patroller on scene. So that's just the highlights of how that looks. Again, under our dispatch dashboard, you're going to click dispatch a call. It's going to open up this window here, and you'll use a new dispatch button to create a new dispatch. So please go ahead and practice with that. It doesn't hurt anything to practice with those as well. And I can certainly delete them off the system when we're done. One other thing in here is if you notice that there's a call sticking that needs to go away and you've closed it, you can hit the refresh button in the upper right corner. and it will refresh the system. So I'm going to go ahead and close this test call as well. If you do test calls, just throw test call in here or practice call, something like that, so that we know that it was just done that way. So I'm just going to close that dispatch. You notice it goes away. All right, that's the quick primer on utilizing the OneRisk dispatching a call feature, which we have started using now. Thanks a lot and have a great day.